Welcome back to another installment of Julian's Random Projects. Still working on the grocery getter here, and I think this is, I don't know, part 3, part 4, who knows, of this guy. I noticed I did all the work to put this stuff in the basket, or cut away some of the basket to clear away for the child seat. I never actually showed the child seat installed on that, so here it is. Might have to update that with a thumbnail or something, because I think it looks pretty snazzy. So if you're buying a trike, like, you'd be done. There you go. You get the basket, or most of the use of the basket, and you get a little kid's seat on the back, and it'd be a pretty decent little grocery getter for you. But of course, as you all know, we went electric with this one, and so it's going to need a battery back. And instead of looking lame with a bunch of sealed lead acid batteries crammed in back here, taking up a shitload of space, I've opted for a lithium phosphate battery pack, which you saw in the previous episode. So today's work is going to be focused on the wiring, the most boring part of the install here. Everything else is very interesting to me and and fun to do, to go in and select all the parts and pick your battery balancer and the battery types and find something that's got a good C rating, and I get lost in all that. And then when I finally get it all in the mail, I'm like, ah, shit, I gotta go and wire this stuff up. And then you get to deal with, you know, big wire harnesses like this crap. Half of this I don't even need. I'm gonna either zip tie away some of this or cut it off. These are like extra sensors and things that this guy supports. I'm interested in battery in, controlling, actually potentiometers to control the motor speed, and of course wires up to the motor. That's all I care about. Everything else is just gravy. I take that back. What was the other guy? Oh, this one. This one is, it said like accessories out, and I was like, oh, how cool. It wasn't documented, but maybe by accessories they mean 12 volts, and this has some sort of converter to go from 48 to 12 in it. It doesn't, but I bought one. So I bought one in case it didn't, and sure enough, with a multimeter you probe these and you get the same exact battery voltage, but it's switched. This only comes on when you turn on the bike from the control panel up on the handlebar. So I bought this, a cheap Chinese 48 volt to 12 volt 10 amp brick. I will hide it somewhere, I don't know, under here, or bolted to the back of this guy, or in the battery box, I don't know. But I've got a lot of things like brake lights, which aren't actually tied to the brake lights, so I guess you could just call them rear lights, and headlights, like LED headlights, that I'm considering charging off at 12 volts. And once you go 12 volts, you open up an entire industry called the 12 volt industry, which has a bunch of radios and Bluetooth modules and all sorts of stuff. Lots of things run on 12 volts. As you well know, 12 and 5 volts are very, very popular voltages, so I thought I'd get some. If you wanted to go really cheap and potentially unbalance your entire pack, depending on your load, or if there's a zombie apocalypse and you need 12 volts off of your 48 volt pack, find enough cells in the pack and just tap off 12 volts. So in my case, it'd be like 4 of the 3 and some change cells. You would just go 1, 2, 3, 4 and pull 2 leads off of those and power your 12 volt devices. I used to do it all the time in the military. They had Humvees running off of 28 volts or 24 volts, however you wanted to look at it, and when you lifted up the hood, it was actually just 2 12 volt batteries. And so if you wanted to run 12 volt stuff, you could run it off of one set of the 2 batteries. Of course, you drain a lot, they'll get way out of balance, but if you're just powering like a little radio or something like that, it should be fine. So let's get started on this. So when you're doing these Anderson connectors, you want to push it all the way until it clicks, and it can be stiff sometimes. It's gotta get, there's a little lip. Make it. So sometimes you gotta get an inanimate object in here. There it is. Hear that click? That's it. So nice and some of you might be wondering, why would you cut off perfectly good spade connectors when you to replace them with Anderson plugs when you've got them already terminated? Well, I made some decisions earlier with a power measuring tool that I have to have Anderson plugs on it, and I already soldered that all up. You can see some of that here. I like the Anderson plugs, so I bought a handful of them. And so if I want to measure power coming from the battery pack into the whole system, I need to go Anderson plug, instead of having a bunch of adapters and funky stuff going on. I think that was it, but there's only one way to know. Let's to grab another plug. Oh yeah, there we go. Done and done. These things can hold like 50 amps, which is pretty decent. And they click in together so that you can make little connectors of them. Heck, you could even daisy chain a couple of them, make like a 4 connector type thing. So they're pretty handy little plugs. And like I showed earlier, I've soldered this guy up, so he's going to hang out in between here while I'm testing it, and then later I'll just connect it directly up once I'm comfortable with the amount of current that this thing's pulling and the amount of amperage or battery capacity that it uses to go an amount of miles. So that's to be played with for a little bit and then taken out of the system, but I'm hopeful that I'll stick to using Anderson connectors and that this thing can live in my toolbox and be useful. Alright, let's move around to the back side of this bike and focus on the battery pack itself. It's going to live back here. And in true cooking show style, I've prepared something earlier. This is the battery pack itself. All ready to go. With leads coming out, both for charging and for powering the bike itself. And this is going to live under here and just get bolted in just like that. And in one of those happy accidents, I was about to throw out a kind of like a dog kennel for the back of your SUV thing that's made out of the same type of material, and it had these brackets to like make it a universal fit for whatever car you've got. And I kept them because I'm a pack rat. And little moments like this, it's like playing slots in a casino, right? Like you only need 1 in 1,000 times to justify sitting there and being comped to your drinks and pumping quarters into machines. This is it. This is like fuel for all hoarders. Like, ha! Fucking knew it. I was gonna use that one day, and I did. Here we go. Yeah, buddy. Alright, so as you can see, the battery pack fits pretty decently in here. I've got it covered in duct tape to keep it from shorting out on stuff. It's not super structural or very thick, but in an ideal world you'd build like a case for this, but I'm sort of considering this the case for it. But there's some air gaps in here, and then there's going to be vibrations and bumps and lots of other crazy shit going on. So I had a bunch of this stuff laying around, these little tiles for toddlers to keep their heads safe from banging on tile floors and stuff like that. Not using it, it's just sitting around collecting dust, but I didn't throw it away because I kind of liked this thick foam that bounces back. It's pretty durable stuff, so I kept a bit of it, and now I'm going to reuse it, and insulate this from shock using some of these guys. So let's take a stab at that.
Yeah, I'm annoying, right? Some days I'm like, fuck spitting, nah, just kidding. I'm always crashing like my phone cause it's bug ridden. I'm just living, wishing I could better me. Fuck tripping on the past, I'ma let it be. 1 minute, I'm singing in the rain shower. Next minute, I'm surrounded by my Mayflowers. It don't take hours, it's like a roller coaster. Up and down, bump around, then the show is over. Slow down, young fella, don't blow your motor. Put your nose to the roads, it's like a motorboater. Get a good whip, better sniff good. I'm sick of going through my life like driftwood.
This is the original cover for the speakers. Of course, it's cheap consumer electronics, so this is actually glued in place and there's no screw holes or anything like that. Those look like screw holes, but they're actually guides for the cover that goes back here. There's a nice silver cover. I might put it on actually. Actually, let's see what that looks like. Oh yeah, not half bad there. Other than saying JBL upside down, that's pretty clean looking back here. Quite pleased with that. I might, once I got this plastic piece on, of course, these are looking a lot like taillights to me. Or very shallow speakers. I was hoping to have more room and be able to reinstall the speakers that they came with, or maybe buy some that don't go as deep with the magnet and still play music out of these over a Bluetooth connection or something like that. It'd be kind of fun to be rolling down the road or pull into a park for a picnic or something like that and have this be your little boombox. Still might investigate that later, but in the meantime, we will hide all of our crimes with the cover. Thanks for following along so far with the grocery getter, and hopefully the next video we will be out and about taking it for a test drive. That ought to be pretty fun, so stay tuned for that. Thanks.
Things just keep getting better.